Chuck.
Chuck. Hey everybody, it's the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I'm Randy.
And we're here with Season 2 of the Cannon Cruisers. We made it, everybody. We made it.
Yes, the deep, dark winter of our discontent is almost over. And now we are back with Season 2.
If you want to know why he's doing that ridiculous voice, it's because of the movie we watched, which is called Hot Resort from 1985.
Yes, Hot Resort 1985 is a very simple sort of movie. Okay, I'm dropping this voice. I can't do it.
Please do.
So Hot Resort 1985 is a very simple film. This is the basic premise. Bunch of college-age guys get a job on St. Kitts to work at a restaurant, and they all want to get laid. There we go. That's the plot.
If you remember the movie we covered called Making the Grade, this is very much like that movie. And there's a reason why that is, and I might bring it up later.
No, you'll bring it up, but it's like I don't believe it actually was the intent, but that's what it feels like.
Anyway, there's no trailer for this movie. There isn't even a Wikipedia page for this. It's a very unknown movie. It's almost as if
seemingly.
It's almost as if we made the movie up, and it doesn't really
I'm just
exist.
going to give you some quick the quick things you're supposed to look at. The movie is directed by John Robbins. It's also co-written by John Robbins, Boaz Davidson, and two others whose names I don't really feel like reading because this movie has just kind of left me wanting. Okay, so Boaz Davidson and Norman Hudis, and the story credit goes to Paul Max Rubenstein. So, as I said, it's a very simple film. It follows four wisecracking asses. You have your nerd.
From New York.
You have your nerd from New York. You have your sensitive, charming guy from New York. You have your wisecracking jerk from New York, and you have Dan Schneider playing the fat ass who gets all the ladies.
Yeah, it's pretty much a typical 80s comedy.
So you have Marty, played by Tom Parsekian, who's the sensitive guy. I think he'll come out of practice here. Kenny, who is the glasses nerd guy, played by Michael Benz.
Yep.
Bronson Pinchot plays Brad.
Bronson Pinchot.
And Dan Schneider, credited as Daniel Schneider, in this film plays Chuck. The fatso who gets all the girls.
Yeah. That's pretty much the movie, honestly. There's no real plot to speak of. In fact, while we're here, might as well just talk about highlights and lowlights. The highlights for this movie are very few and far between, really.
But there is basically a plot. We can go into how it's structured. It's just a series of vignettes that are loosely connected. There's antagonism between the lower class workers and some preppies that are there to shoot a commercial.
As I said, it's very much like Making the Grade.
Yeah, there's a love story between the lower class and the upper class.
Like Making the Grade.
And it's a booby comedy.
And the tone shift is pretty much the same throughout, but the plot keeps, I don't want to say evolving, because then it
doesn't evolve.
Change. It kind of just switches. It goes from this to this to this.
This movie is just kind of bland. It's
very forgettable. It's probably the reason nobody remembered to put up a Wikipedia page where they just forgot it exists.
Yeah, this movie does not have a Wikipedia page. Previously, every other film we've touched has had a Wikipedia page. I've been able to pull production things off of it. Stuff. The only thing I have found on this movie, which I'll mention right now, is that apparently Bronson Pinchot has owned this film at some point in his career.
Which is kind of weird, considering it's the type of thing he would do, so I don't know. I don't even know how anybody would bring it up to him, considering I don't think anybody remembers the movie.
Well, honestly, I don't think anybody remembers Bronson Pinchot. Hey-oh!
Ouch!
Anyways...
I don't think he remembers the movie.
Knock,
I was
knock.
in that.
Bronson Pinchot's lawyer at my door saying, please cease and desist.
Yeah... My fondest, I don't want to say fondest, my most memorable moment in this whole film was just watching it and wondering, this movie does not feel like it was made or put out in 1985. This feels like a movie that should have come out 3-4 years earlier. I was reminded of movies, not as good obviously, as Caddyshack or the original Meatballs, which were 1980.
Like I said, a booby comedy.
Even for a booby comedy, it was kind of... I don't want to say outdated, because these types of movies were all the same, and they were like this way all the way up till even American Pie, so you can't really say they're outdated when they're all the same. But the style of comedy and the way it was shot distinctly feels like a movie from 1980 itself. It doesn't feel like a movie that was made in this time frame. It's like they made this movie and they held it over And then they just decided, well, we need a movie out this month. Let's put this one out. That's what it felt like to me.
So what did you like about the movie? What was your highlight of the film?
Some of the performances I thought were really well. It wasn't like bad acting drug the movie down. It was more the writing that dragged it down in the random direction.
Yeah, it's like it fails more technically like than anything else. There's one scene where you can clearly see boom mics.
There's a weird scene where everybody is. Well, there's a scene near the end where he's talking to the camera, which comes out of nowhere. He's like, and it's in the middle of another scene where they're shooting a commercial. So you think, oh, he's talking to the camera because it's no, he's actually talking to us.
Yes, the movie ends with a fourth wall break where he does the Animal House thing of telling you what happened to everybody.
Like making the grade, when it randomly has a fourth wall break. But there's also another scene where they're talking in an office, and there's a distinct scene of somebody snoring. Somebody in the background is snoring. But they don't reveal anybody sleeping.
Somebody fell asleep.
There's nobody sleeping in the scene, so...
But that still brings me back to, what's your highlight of the film? Because it feels like we're going into more lowlights here.
Well, I wanted to start with lowlights because it's a lot easier. But as I said, I'd say the acting was actually well done. The lines they were delivering wasn't anything special, and neither was the direction or the execution. But the actors themselves did a good enough job with what they were given. It wasn't painful to watch because of them.
It's gonna sound weird, but I have neither like a highlight or a low light. It feels like I'm copying out when I say this, but let me explain. This movie is so bland. It's like, yeah, I chuckled a couple of times, but it's like more at the ridiculousness or more at the like, they farted type of situation. It's just kind of like, there's nothing really...
There's nothing to grab onto.
This movie is...
There.
Forgettable. Yeah, it's there. It's like it's the blandest, middle of the road, quote unquote raunchy sex comedy from the 80s that, like I said, I don't hate it. I don't like it. I feel complete indifference to everything about this movie. I make fun of Bronson Pinchot, but I do that on a daily basis for some reason.
Keep in mind, this is like a summer, raunchy comedy, the type of thing they would put out when kids are out of school. But this movie came out in January of 1985, which makes me wonder exactly, as I said, if it was held over. Because as I also brought up to Randy, and he doesn't believe this, I think this was originally supposed to be Touristas, the sequel to Making the Grade, and they repurposed it.
Yeah, because it's like, if you look, like, as you know, as we were laughing about all the way back when, those episodes ago about Making the Grade, the film ends with these characters will return in Touristas, which we never found out what the plot of the movie, but this is kind of what it felt like the plot of that movie would be. Yeah. And even has characters, actors from Making the Grade in here.
Including
or Dan
Schneider.
Specifically Dan Schneider.
He was in that movie, and he was playing a similar character in that movie, which is what I said when I was watching the whole film, and like, this could easily be transposed to those characters, and nothing would change.
It's like... You want to know how indifferent I am to this film? I've been trying to place it within the realm of the other booby comedies we have done in this time period, like so far, and it's just kind of like, it's like, this isn't one of those situations where I'm going to take 10 years and go, I don't like this movie, or I like this. I'm just kind of like, this movie has left me indifferent.
Yeah. My biggest problem,
which is going to lead us on to our scoring. I honestly don't know how to score this film because I am indifferent to it.
To me, this is a perfect example of a 2 out of 5 film. It's not a movie that I hated so much I wanted to die, like Breaking 2 or The Apple or The Exterminator.
I might have to. It's like even
but at the same time, it's nothing that I could say, yeah, I'd watch this again. I wouldn't watch this again.
It's like, yeah, but so you say that, and in my book, it's like, well, I never want to see this movie again. It was bad. No, I never want to see this movie because it was bland, uninspired.
It's the type of movie you would go if, like,
workman-like,
you had money burning in your pocket and you wanted to see a movie on cinema or whatever, and you just walk in and see it. Okay, I wasted that money. And...
Not really. I wouldn't even like, if I saw a trailer for this, which we can't find, by the way. I wouldn't want to... It's
forgotten.
I have zero interest in this film, and like I said, it just left me indifferent to it. Like you said, there are some funny things in this film, but there are funny things in almost every single film.
This is the type of movie I would grade it specifically 2 out of 5. A movie I didn't like, a movie that doesn't have much going for it, but not a movie that I hated enough to want to steer people away and rant about. It's not
worse. It's not worse than The Apple. But it's like at the same time, I cannot bring myself to be passionate about this movie in any way, shape, or form to say I hate this film. It's just literally complete indifference. I'll agree with you that I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5, but with the caveat that this doesn't elicit any passion either way. It's
It's mediocrity squared, which is a good way to start our season, sort of to set our scales, so to speak.
You wake up in the morning and you're making yourself breakfast. For breakfast, you make yourself plain oatmeal. You don't add anything to it, no milk. You eat it and it fills you up. This literally just killed time for the hour and 50 minutes it was. 50 minutes it was.
Yeah.
And it, like I said, it left me completely indifferent. It's like, I take it or leave it. I don't care. And I don't want to ever see it again. But it's just...
It was a good movie to start, as I said, the season off with, because it's a good way to set the scales again, to remind ourselves exactly what we're doing here. Because there's going to be some much better films this season, and certainly some worse ones, but this is kind of just there. This is what would be a typical movie in the 80s, especially when it comes to booby comedies. And thankfully, there's not that many more of them. But with that, we don't really have anything else to say about
it's like
this one.
We apologize if it's a little bit of a mess this episode. We haven't recorded in like a month. It's like it's literally us getting back into it, but
and we wanted to start with something
This is probably
slower.
the worst movie to come back into because there's nothing really to say.
Well, it's better to do it now, I think, because some of the ones later on are going to be really. We want to be in practice for those ones. So with that, I guess we'll wrap this episode up, and we'll see you next time with whatever we find next on our cruising catalog. See, that's how in practice I am. When we continue our cruise through the Canon catalog, we will see you next time.
Yes, and we're out.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy. I just realized I need to provide you with a little bit of context as to why I was talking like this at the beginning of the podcast. Yes, the reason for this is that the main character's rivals, the preppies, all talk like this. And that's about the end of that chapter. Thank you for joining us. Good day.